Today we're going to light into impromptu speeches. By the time we get done with this lecture, you're going to know everything you need to know about how to conduct an impromptu speech. When someone calls you on the spur of the moment, you jump up and you are ready to just talk. All right, so don't freak out, but we've got speeches Wednesday and Friday, and you're going to come to class, have no idea who's going that day. You're not going to know your topic, but it's going to be a lot of fun. It's one of my most fun speeches because you can relax, even though it's going to be a little scary, but you can relax and know that it's going to be okay. If you follow the formula that I give you, you're going to be okay. So some things about impromptu speeches that we need to know. Impromptu is speaking on the spur of the moment. It is those times where you have absolutely no opportunity for extensive preparation. Notice I use the word extensive here. Because a lot of times on the impromptu speech, you may have just a couple of seconds to get your thoughts together. Maybe you show up to a meeting and your boss looks at you and says, I need you to take the meeting today, Cheryl got sick. You're up and you got 5 minutes to get ready. That's not extensive preparation. Maybe you're called upon at a meeting to say something about a topic that's being discussed. And we'll see in a minute that you have to always anticipate times when you're going to have that speak. Especially when people know that you're a good public speaker, guess what? You're probably going to be called on, right, to talk from time to time. Especially if those people who are around you know you have the gift and the ability to be able to talk. You may be called upon more than others. So that's what impromptu speaking is. It's one of those things that can be extremely stressful though. Impromptu speaking is one of those things that even I don't enjoy doing. It's just stressful because you didn't have that preparation time. And if you haven't been listening well, we talked about how being a good listener, sometimes it can throw you off. Always important to be listening. It can be totally stressful, and one of the benefits of impromptu speaking is everybody around you realizes that you're just speaking on the spur of the moment. You're speaking off the cuff. They know that. So your listeners are a little bit more forgiving when it comes to your impromptu speaking. You know how it is when you see somebody kind of stammer and stumble through something, you realize, well, they didn't have any prep time. They were just called on to start talking. So you're a little bit more forgiving than in a more formal setting where they've had time to prep. So just realize that people understand, and if you throw a few more ums and uhs in there, it's okay. Yes?
So does this mean that it's going to be like an easier grade?
For this class?
This?
For this?
Like, are you going to grade easier?
Am I going to grade easier? Class, would you like to tell them the answer? Am I going to grade easier or not?
No. Yes.
I figured it'd be yes.
Oh, well, this isn't a democracy. I just want you to think if I am or not.
Yeah, that's even.
But not to the fact that you're just going to get an A just because you did it.
Yes. Thank you. Yes. I'm going to be understandable that you're speaking off the cuff. Absolutely, Ethan. I know that. But I'm not going to let you off the hook just to get up here and be like, I don't know what I'm saying, and sit down. Oh, yeah, you're going to fail. All right? So you got to get up here and you got to give it the good old college try. If you get up here and try, you're not going to fail. I'm not saying you're going to make an A or a B or a C, but you're not going to fail. You got to give it a shot. And here comes the train, right? So good. Ethan, you're always full of great questions. Here's how you do it. The steps to an impromptu speech. The first thing you need to do when you're asked to talk about something and you get that topic is decide your conclusion first. I know this is a little different than other speaking topics, especially when we went over the outline portion of how to outline a speech, and we talked about work on the body, then you can go to your introduction and your conclusion. Impromptu speeches are different. You need to decide the conclusion first. Know how you're going to land the plane. Know how the plane's coming in for a landing. This is going to help keep you on track, and it's going to give you a strong ending, and it's going to prevent you from crashing that plane, right? So make sure that you go to the conclusion first. I know what I feel about this. I know in my gut what I want to say. So if I had one thing to say, this is it, and that's what I'm going to conclude on. That's my conclusion. I've made my mind up. Then you form everything else around it. And remember, these impromptu speeches in real life and in this class are not for long periods of time. This speech only needs to be 1 to 2 minutes long. You can speak a minute about anything, especially when I give you these formulas to plug all your information into. It's going to be okay. So once you get your conclusion, you must come back and organize your speech. And I'm going to give you 3 easy templates that you can plug your speech into. Here's your 3 templates. Here's number 1. This one's called a point, support, conclusion. You're going to write this down. Point, support, conclusion. So you've decided on your conclusion, so you kind of already have that. But you're going to come back and start the impromptu speech with your point. You're going to state your point of view, and that is going to be your key idea or your objective that you want to have happen. So you're going to make your point. I believe we did not land on the moon. That's my point. The moon landing was a hoax. It's absolutely and simply not true. And then I'm going to come right behind that point, and I'm going to give all kind of support that I can think of. And listen, you didn't have time to go research this. There was no trip to the library for you. You may have had a second to get on Google, but reality is, this is probably just stuff that's going to come out of your brain that's common sense. So give examples, give stories, give other support material to explain or prove your point. So my point is, a lot of people around the world say that we, the United States of America, landed an astronaut on the moon. But I believe that is absolutely false, and that the moon landing is really and truly a hoax. Now here's why I believe that. There's some photos out there on the internet that show an astronaut with a flag sitting out right out at a 90-degree angle. But if you look behind that flag, all of the shadows are thrown in different areas where the flag that is sitting out at 90 degrees actually does not cast a 90-degree shadow on the floor. From a photographer's experience and perspective, that's absolutely impossible to do. Right there, I just made that up on the spur of the moment off my head. I got my point, I've got you one example. Maybe I can think of another example real quick. So I'm supporting my point, and then you wrap it up with your conclusion. You end with a restatement of your point and an appeal to action. So as you can see, I believe that the moon landing was absolutely a hoax. You can look at all the information out there, and next time someone asks you, what do you think about space exploration? What do you think about landing on the moon? Maybe this information will help you understand that we never actually really went there. Boom, you've got a whole impromptu speech done. Yeah.
Okay, so what if we don't know anything about the impromptu speech?
That's perfect. That's perfect. Everyone has an opinion. Everyone has a thought, right? You won't have time to go on Google, really. You're going to have about a minute and a half prep on this speech. Well, here's the funny part. We're going to get to it in a moment, that you never feign knowledge and you don't pretend that you know something, because people will see right through it. But the topics that I'm going to give you are things that you don't have to do a lot of research on. It's going to be just a lot of opinion type stuff, the way that you feel. I'll show you an example at the end. Maybe you'll pick up on it. So this is the first one, all right? So we've got two more templates. Here's the next one. This one's a little bit more in depth because it has an extra step. This is the prep method. So the first method is point, support, conclusion. This is the prep method: position, reason, example, position. If you'll notice in all of these, you're going to have a thing where you give your point and then you come back and you reaffirm your point. It's almost just like an introduction and conclusion. We're making a mini speech here. So in the prep method, you start with your position. State your position on the topic. I believe we in Louisiana need to do more to protect our coastal wetlands. All right, that's my position. I think we need to do more. And then after I state my position, I go into my reasons. This is the reason for taking the position. Every year, we lose, I don't know how I'm making this up, X amount of cubic feet of our coastal wetland land. And if we don't do something about this now, think about where our children will be. We may actually lose certain parts of towns that are built on the coast of Louisiana. And then I'm going to give an example. Give an example that helps illuminate or explain your reason. Has anybody ever seen the LSU football stadium? Yeah. You know, a football field is 100 foot long, and how wide is it? Can anybody tell me how wide a football field is? It's 50 something yards, right? Every hour in the state of Louisiana, we lose a football field's worth of our coastal wetlands every hour of every day. That's 24 football fields in a day that we lose. If we don't do something to stop this now, where will our children be along the coast? And then I go back into my position. You see, it's such a critical thing. If we're losing that much coastal wetland every day, we have to do something now to stop coastal wetland erosion. So that's the way you do the PrEP method. That's the way you do the PrEP method. You state your position, give a reason for it, give an example that helps illustrate it, and then come back to your position. So it's a whole cycle thing. Any questions on that one? Yeah.
What like if you didn't know anything about like wetlands or anything, what would be something that you could state as an example?
Okay, let's see, an example. Okay, California. You all know that California has where houses are built on the coast and they're literally falling into the ocean because of erosion. I'm just thinking, anything that you can think of along the way. Think about endangered animals. You know how now we have coalitions put together to help protect these wetlands. Not the National Wetland Coalition. We learned that's a farce. But there are legitimate companies out there that their job is, think about at the end of every Christmas, we donate our Christmas trees to put in the marshes that'll help stop the, I'm just going off the top of my head. So you think about all these things that you can use. You know, why are these things in existence? Because they understand the importance of saving our wetlands. Make sense? Yes?
Yeah.
Did you make up the football thing?
No, that's actually legitimate. Yeah. That's pretty impressive, isn't it? Yeah.
Where's your article?
Where's my article? It's backed up by the, no. It's actually in our textbook, so I didn't make that up. I'm not a genius. Yeah, I'm going to quote the textbook. That's a legitimate source, right? Last one, past, present, future. I like this one. I like this one. Sometimes I feel like I'm Marty McFly. Past, present, future. So this one is real fun because you go into your point. You state your key point. And then you're going to take that and go into the past. Then you're going to talk about what's occurring today. And guess what the future one's going to be about? You're going to talk about what's going to happen. Predict what will or could happen in the future. And you come back into your point and drive your key point home. Can I borrow this? No, this. Yeah. Awesome. Bottled water. I think this is really kind of a crime to our society, the fact that companies will take water, a lot of times out of a fountain that they just filtered, and put into a bottle and charge you about 10 times really what it's worth. If you've ever gotten a bottle of water out of the grocery store or convenience store, sometimes this bottle will cost you about $1.79. But it really costs the company about 15 cents, 10 cents to make this. But the problem with water bottles is this, is when we're done with them, what do? We throw them away. Now if you think about back in the 50s and 60s, this would have actually been absurd to think about putting water in a bottle and selling it to people. You know, if you were thirsty back then, you just got a cup and you put water in it out of the faucet and you drank it, no problem. But today, what we find out is that X amount of people are drinking water bottles a day. There's probably about 500, I'm totally making this up, there's 500 million water bottles a day being thrown away into our trash. Now imagine if we don't really stop and think about how to recycle these things properly, and then we get behind it, and as people who consume this get into the process of recycling, we need to do something about it, because think about what the future is going to hold. Not only are we wasting a lot of money on this stuff, but it's the fact that this stuff here is now going to pollute the environment. So really, we need to stop and think about what we're going to do with our bottled water. Out there's a lot of alternatives. We can get into reusable bottles that filter it on our own, where this isn't ending up in the landfill, and it's going to decrease our cost over the years. So you can see, I don't know about you, but I'm thinking maybe we can put the bottled water down, and let's find a better way to take care of ourselves and drink water. Boom. Make sense? See how I went into the past, I went to the future, now into the future? So you can totally do that off the top of your head because obviously I've come up with a goofy statistic like that. There's no way we're drinking 500 billion water bottles a day, but that's just an easy way to me to think about it. Any kind of topic you can take and go into the past, come to the day, and then kind of propose what's going to happen in the future. So these are the 3 templates that you can totally use, impromptu speech templates. And here is some more information for you, especially when it comes to your speech this week. Number 1, don't rush. Please don't rush. Because of our nerves, we're going to think it's going to take us, we're going to get up here and we're going to rush through things because we're nervous. But don't, take your time. But not so much time that you bust through the time limit. Just know that you've got, a whole minute spread there, 1 to 2 minutes. Don't rush through things. If at all possible, link your remarks to another speaker, especially in the real life. If you're in a business meeting and someone's talking about facts and figures and then they say, well, Mr. Brady, what do you think? And you say, Logan mentioned something really interesting a while ago when he talked about capital gains improvements. You can totally link your talk to somebody else's, and then it kind of continues that conversation through what you have to say. So if you get a topic, if you draw a topic on Wednesday, and you know that somebody else in the class said something that you can build off of, do it. Do it. Absolutely do it. Again, I mentioned this earlier, don't lie, or don't pretend that you know things that you don't really know. So don't feign the knowledge. Well, absolutely. China spends $87 billion a year on this, blah, 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 and you just made that up. Like, don't do that. If you don't know it, just say, China spends quite a bit of money a year. Kind of like in my example a while ago, I should have said, we throw away a lot of water bottles instead of making that up. So don't make stuff up. Just don't feign knowledge. I know this sounds weird when I said don't rush, but be brief. People don't expect you to talk a lot during this time because they know you're off the cuffs and you just kind of made it up. So be brief, don't rush. If you can talk about what somebody else said, great, and then don't lie about anything. And the last thing is this. I want you to try to foresee situations that you're likely to be called upon to speak in an impromptu manner. Sometimes this is your classroom, especially like if you're in history or English and you were expected to read a story or review something and the professor wants you to ask a question, answer a question. You may want to be prepared for that. But also any kind of a meeting that you roll into. I know pastors are notorious to be called upon. If people know you're in the ministry, they're going to call upon you to do certain things or to say certain things. But even outside of that, if you're at a wedding, let me tell you guys, the first wedding I was in, I was the best man. I was 18 years old, had no clue at the reception the best man's actually supposed to give a toast. Had no clue. That happened to you?
I had to speak about sister's wedding when I was 14.
When you were 14? Oh man, I bet that was nerve-wracking. Yeah, I mean, they were like, all right, Brian, it's time for your speech. And I'm like, speech? Yeah, I was like, what are you talking about?
Like my parents helped me on the floor and everything like
Yeah.
that. So I knew I was going to have to
So you knew it though,
But
see?
it was still like tough.
Yeah.
I had to do that for my mom's wedding.
Uh-huh.
I just went up there and said, I'm hungry, and then sat down and ate.
Did you really? I'm sure they loved you for that.
They were like, oh, they were hungry too.
Everybody was laughing. Yeah. I remember just standing up being like, I feel like I'm gaining a sister, I'm not losing a brother, just made stuff up off the top of my head. Now I realize I need to be prepared for those situations. So if there's any way, shape, or form you could possibly be called upon, try to figure something out. All right, so here's what we're going to do. I want you to partner up with somebody. Partner up with somebody. Let's do a little class exercise. So go find your partner. Just somebody right next to you. All right. This is your topic. You and your partner have to pick one of the 3 methods that I just taught. Your topic is discipline is not a dirty word. And then I want you to put together with one of those three methods that I talked to you, I want you to put together a speech. All right? And you're not going to deliver it, don't freak out. But I want you to organize it, all right? You and your partner, discipline is not a dirty word. Let's go.